Coming up, a police practice under scrutiny.
I feel like the government is in my pocket.
Like they were looking for charges to stack upon us.
Laws that enable police departments to generate unlimited profit.
Right there. Oh, my Lord.
You want me to explain this to you?
It's a cash cow.
Impacting the public's trust in law enforcement.
They were looking for easy targets.
If the police get behind me, I instantly have to record.
Officers speaking out.
He basically told me, if you don't do this, you're not going to have a fun time here.
And a lawmaker pledging to take action.
That's more than problematic. There's no doubt about it.
Tonight, an Atlanta News First investigation. Taxation through citation.
Okay, Team K Dot. Before anything else, I would like you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'll give you a few minutes. Okay, great. Now we can get started. Today's story is brought to you by Atlanta News First, right out of Atlanta, Georgia. So the reason why I'm bringing you this story is because I think you need to look into your own city when it comes to taxation through citation. It's important that you look into your own city and counties just to make sure where is most of your police budget coming from, and or the city budget's coming from. Is it coming from other federal entities, or is it coming directly from traffic tickets? And that's what we're going to be looking into today. All right, enjoy. We're also on the road for 50K subscribers. I need your help with this process so we can all educate the next newcomers on this channel. All right.
Hi, I'm investigative reporter Andy Parati. Tonight we travel across Georgia, uncovering cities using their police departments to make money off the backs of drivers. This is not a story about speed traps. A civil liberties organization says Georgia is the worst state in the country with laws that enable or encourage the practice. We begin our investigation at an Atlanta pizza parlor.
Order T67, your order's ready.
Sophia Farisi's family business must sell a lot of pies to make a profit.
The margarita, this one is also a top seller, but our best seller is just like a typical cheese slice. Thank you.
While her Atlanta pizzeria counts on repeat customers to stay open, Sophia recently visited a small Georgia town. She believes relies on too much dough from out-of-town drivers to exist.
He comes behind me and he starts, the sirens go off and whatever. So I pull over and I'm like, thinking the worst.
This past January, police ticketed Sophia for an expired tag while driving through the city of Dillard, about 2 hours north of Atlanta. This is the picture she took of her traffic stop. It cost her about $200. According to the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, Dillard collected $315,000 from fines and forfeitures in 2022. That's 44% of the entire city's budget for a town of about 300 people.
Numbers don't lie, so you see the percentages, and if the number is that high, it's definitely more about making money than keeping people safe.
While Dillard isn't the only city that banks on traffic citations for a big slice of its budget, an Atlanta News First investigation uncovered no other town in the state relies on the profit from its police force more than the city of Lenox, which covers less than 2 square miles in South Georgia. In 2022, it collected $1.3 million from citations. That's nearly 73% of the town's budget.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Atlanta News First Investigates spoke to a dozen drivers ticketed by Lenox police this year.
This is a scam.
All say the amount of citation revenue the city collects makes them question the police department's motives.
And I do think it creates somewhat of a distrust with your law enforcement.
And it makes you just question how valid a lot of these citations are.
Of the 361 citations police issued for the first 2 months of this year, records show just 5 were on Lenox streets, the remaining Interstate 75. which runs straight through the city.
That sounds like the old TV show, The Dukes of Hazzard.
Come into my parlor, said the spider to the bee.
They've created a police force to be a revenue-generating operation in that town.
You city boys have no idea.
When the Lenox police chief and the mayor declined to be interviewed, we drove 3 hours south of Atlanta to attend its city council meeting.
With so much revenue coming from traffic citations, some question, what's the real motive? Safety or raising revenue? Do you understand that concern?
Stops no one unless they're doing over 90 miles an hour of that.
It's hard to hear, but that's Mayor Henry Baker explaining that his officers only ticket drivers who speed more than 90 miles per hour. But Atlanta News First uncovered the first 2 months of this year, 40% of his citations were for non-speeding offenses, like tinted windows and obscured license plates.
Could your city operate or even exist without all of this traffic citation revenue?
I have no comment on that.
Okay.
I have no comment, is how he responded. While the mayor declined to answer our question, here's what a member of the city's fire department told us.
If you took that revenue away from a town like this, the town would become a ghost town because people in this town cannot afford to have their property taxes raised.
Georgia law allows the Department of Public Safety to revoke speed detection device permits from cities when ticket revenue exceeds 35% of police departments' budgets. But that cap only involves tickets for speeding, a loophole that allows cities to collect as much revenue as they want from other traffic offenses.
So that's usually why people call it taxation by citation, is it's a politically attractive alternative.
Victorio Nastasi is the director of criminal justice for the Reason Foundation. In a report released earlier this year, the libertarian think tank called on Georgia to cap ticket revenue to 10%. Money collected above that threshold would be sent to a state-run crime victims compensation fund. That cap doesn't prevent municipal law enforcement from writing tickets, but creates less financial incentives for issuing tickets.
So I think that kind of solution is more directly addressing the problem and doesn't have the same issues of tying law enforcement's hands as the current law has.
27 days.
If they are breaking the law,
after this city council meeting,
they take an oath to uphold the law.
The Georgia Department of Public Safety suspended Lennox's speed detection device permits for 180 days, meaning its officers could not write speeding tickets for nearly 6 months. State investigators writing the city consistently altered tickets to make it appear officers wrote fewer speeding citations than they actually did. During an investigative hearing this past August, Lennox Police Chief Shane Daughtry claimed the ticket alterations were an accident.
This is just honestly an honest mistake. I did not monitor it. I did not keep up with it. It's on me. It's my fault.
State investigators at the hearing said the practice seemed intentional.
And another concern we had, if you don't mind, Colonel, is 85% of your revenue was speed-based. Only one ticket in 3 years was not written on the interstate for speeding in a 3-year period. That tells me there's not a whole lot of enforcement going on other than the interstate.
There's not a whole lot going on in Lennox other than that.
We have to make dough every day, every single day.
Georgia cities accused of subsidizing budgets with citations instead of taxation, a practice some believe is a recipe for disaster with trust in law enforcement.
It's just really unfair and ridiculous.
Coming up, we cross state lines in search of a possible solution. Plus, private industry making millions enforcing Georgia traffic laws.
It's about money. I mean, let's cut to the chase. It is about money.
Georgia cities don't just rely on officers to generate revenue through traffic enforcement. Atlanta News First Investigates uncovered a rise in surveillance technology, making millions for municipalities.
This is how the citations come.
George Worrell opens letter after letter.
So this was $150. This is from 2022. I just opened it.
citations for speeding in the city of South Fulton.
But if I dug through all of this, I promise you I probably could find like 15, 20 more of these. I would say I've gotten at least maybe 40.
40?
40.
The tickets aren't from South Fulton's police department, but a private company called Blue Line Solutions, based hundreds of miles away in Tennessee, which operates these speed detection cameras in the city's school zones. Since 2019, he's paid thousands of dollars in camera citations, civil penalties which do not impact drivers' licenses or insurance, but if left unpaid, can prevent drivers from renewing their Georgia vehicle registrations. It happened to 133,000 people in the state this past fall, including George.
And before you know it, you're caught.
Since the state allowed cities to install the cameras about 5 years ago, the numbers have exploded. From 39 permits approved in 2019 to 290 last year. Public records uncovered by Atlanta News First Investigates reveal the cameras have generated more than $100 million in revenue.
Right there.
Oh, my Lord.
We showed our findings to Clay Perkle.
Wow. That's incredible.
The South Georgia cattle farmer has beef with the cameras too. Not because he got a ticket.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee,
but as a member of the Georgia House of Representatives. The Republican filed a bill earlier this year to ban the cameras. It failed to pass.
It's about money. I mean, let's cut to the chase. It is about money. It is generating millions and millions of dollars for these communities every year.
No other city in Georgia has collected more revenue from camera citations than the city of South Fulton, $21 million, the same city where George got his tickets. The city's contract with Blue Line shows the company receives 35%. According to that math, the camera operator collected $7 million. Atlanta News First Investigates asked Blue Line about our analysis, but it did not respond.
This is all about private companies fattening their pockets.
City records show the cameras have paid for tasers, uniforms, computers, vehicle repairs, including this $350,000 armored vehicle.
I called it a tank. It looks like a tank.
Khalid Kamau is the city's mayor.
We can see year by year the amount of money that we're generating, so that tells me that it doesn't work.
Is this taxation through citation?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're not a fan of the cameras, why does the city have them?
We have a council manager form of government.
The buck doesn't stop with you.
The buck doesn't stop with me.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
How's it going?
Keith Meadows is the city's police chief who advocated for the cameras, while traffic studies conducted by Blue Line show the number of speeding vehicles in school zones dropped more than 90% since the cameras were installed. The city still collects on average hundreds of thousands of dollars from camera citation revenue a month.
But at the end of the day, we believe that it's resulted in our school zones being a much safer place.
If they would have a seat, and if you would.
Here's state lawmakers debating the legislation in 2018, ultimately granting cities the authority to install the cameras.
And if they think surveillance technology is the right thing to keep their children, their meemaws and peepaws and their mamas and daddies, and the crosswalk tenants safe, then they can install this if they deem necessary.
But are the cameras making Georgia roads safer? According to the National Highway Safety Administration, pedestrian fatalities in Georgia have steadily increased since the cameras were installed, although it's not broken down by community or school zones. The number of school-aged children killed nearly unchanged year to year, the vast majority at night when school is not in session.
It's a cash cow.
State Representative Dewey McClain supports banning the cameras or reforming the 2018 law that gives cities the authority to use the cameras.
Yes, I voted for it.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Hook, line, and sinker. Now, 5 years later, after I look at the data and statistics and things of that nature, I wonder.
Another potential problem, The technology isn't foolproof. Atlanta News First Investigates discovered cities across the state have refunded thousands of dollars for tickets issued for the wrong speed limit and warning signs placed in the wrong location, including the city of South Fulton.
So we as legislators got to do a better job. We need to regulate this to say exactly when and why and how.
I've heard some state legislators talk about getting rid of the school cameras. Well, what's the alternative?
Hiring police officers and
16 police officers in every school zones. Then the narrative is going to be they're running speed traps in South Fulton.
Well, they're already saying that now with the cameras.
Right.
All 3 of my vehicles have been affected by these speed trap citations.
Private industry enforcing the law on behalf of police, some believe is too heavy-handed.
Now we're at a point now the people, the citizens, are like, okay, this is enough.
Coming up, former police officers come forward with a surprise confession. And we travel to Alabama for a possible solution to address what legislators call excessive traffic enforcement.
We're gonna deal with this, brother. We're gonna deal with this. What's your name?
Excessive traffic enforcement can have devastating consequences for communities, impacting the public's trust in law enforcement. But lawmakers in Alabama recently took action on a possible solution, and what they did could be replicated in other states to rein in on the practice.
Alarming claims in the town of Brookside, allegations of illegal policing and racial profiling.
You want me to explain this to you?
Brookside's police chief resigned after allegations of improper and excessive traffic stops and policing.
They were literally being tossed out of their cars, on the street, vehicles taken, had to walk to safety.
We're gonna deal with this, brother. We're gonna deal with this. What's your name?
I think
What's your name?
they were looking for easy targets.
Alexis Thomas takes us back to the day she and her mother, Shakitha, were arrested by officers in Brookside, Alabama in 2022. Both sent to jail, both their cars towed and impounded, costing them thousands of dollars. Pulled over because her mother's car had a broken tag light.
What's going through your mind?
Oh my God. I was terrified. What is really going on here?
According to a pending class action lawsuit, the city allegedly deployed its police department not to protect the public, but to generate revenue, boosting its budget 640% with fines and forfeitures in 2 years, purchasing this armored vehicle and naming its department's canine Cash.
Something's not right.
Wandalyn Givan is a member of the Alabama House of Representatives, whose district includes Brookside. After receiving thousands of complaints, she helped pass a new state law 2 years ago capping the amount of traffic citation revenue cities can collect to 10% of their budgets. Ticket revenue generated above that sent to a state-run crime victims compensation fund. The legislation received bipartisan support in a Republican-led legislature.
I had law enforcement agencies literally calling me from across the state of Alabama and throughout the nation to say, listen, we're good cops. We're not bad cops. Those are bad cops.
And Brookside was the catalyst for this legislation.
Absolutely. Brookside exists everywhere. There's a Brookside in every state.
300 miles away, ticketed drivers share similar outrage about a small police department in Lenox, Georgia, that generates even more revenue from traffic citations.
Like they were looking for charges to stack upon us.
It's crazy. I mean, they're pulling people over left and right. It definitely seemed like he was coming after me. I was a cash cow.
An Atlanta News First investigation uncovered nearly 73% of Lenox's budget came from traffic fines in 2022. To put that in perspective, Brookside's fines and forfeitures made up around 49% of its budget before Alabama changed the law. While state law enforcement can revoke speed detection permits if it can prove cities are writing excessive speeding tickets for profit, Georgia does not cap the amount of revenue municipalities can collect from traffic citations.
To put it shortly, Georgia state laws
incentivize municipalities to use their police departments and their code enforcers to police for profit and for taxation by citation.
Jabasitu Ashvili is an attorney with the Institute for Justice. According to this report produced by the civil rights organization, Georgia ranks as the worst state in the country with laws that enable or encourage taxation through citation, largely because municipalities operate their own traffic courts. Georgia law enforcement agencies also compete with each other. Each year, the Governor's Office of Highway Safety gives awards to agencies and officers who write the most citations and warnings. The Turner County Sheriff's Office, located in South Georgia, proudly posting on Facebook it won 6 this year.
So this is wholly counterproductive to the notion of police protecting and serving, and instead turns police into revenue collectors for themselves and for the town.
Atlanta News first uncovered Lenox is among 17 cities in the state that rely on 25% or more of their budgets from traffic citation revenue, the majority in South Georgia, including Warwick, Morven, and Poland.
The tax base for rural Georgia is declining.
Attorney Tommy Coleman represents some of those South Georgia cities.
Cities and counties in Georgia and other places ought to be able to master of their own destiny. They ought to be able to control their own revenue. And
when you look at the numbers, do you think that this impacts trust in law enforcement?
Well, I'm sure it does for the people who've gotten the ticket.
They are supposed to protect us, serve and protect us.
Back in Brookside, Alabama, a judge dropped all of the charges against Jakeitha and her daughter, but the damage was already done.
It made me really, really not like the police. I'm just gonna be honest.
I'm nervous all the time.
I was finna say, every time I go anywhere, I'm nervous. I don't want, if a police get behind me, I instantly have to record.
A department accused of taking advantage of its authority, impacting trust in law enforcement, something Alabama lawmakers addressed to prevent from happening again.
Court date sign at the bottom.
While its neighboring state has yet to take action. Up next, a Georgia lawmaker plans to take action in response to our Atlanta News First investigation and former officers who claim they were pressured to write tickets.
He basically told me, if you don't do this, you're not going to have a fun time here.
A Georgia lawmaker now plans to take action in direct response to Atlanta News First investigations, uncovering cities accused of using their police departments to generate profit. We sat down with 2 former officers in one town who say they were pressured to write tickets.
Drive through the city of Poland, Georgia, and you may hear a pattern of complaints pour in about its police force.
It's crazy because you'll be slowing down and everything, and then boom, they're on you.
It's a speed trap.
A sleepy town in South Georgia covering less than 2 square miles.
When you get to Poland, you slow down.
Yeah, that'll get you.
John Masters ticketed a lot of those drivers.
As far as I knew, I was a model employee.
When he worked at the police department about 2 years ago.
I thought I was keeping the roadways safe.
When did that change?
For me, it started when I was told I needed to write so many tickets a night, and that those tickets paid for the car, paid for my salary, paid for the maintenance of the vehicle, the incidentals for the department, and paid for city services.
So you believe that you wrote tickets that...
Because of the quota that I would ordinarily have not have written.
City records show John often wrote dozens of tickets a week, second only to the city's assistant police chief at the time.
Yeah, he basically told me, if you don't do this, you're not going to have a fun time here.
John isn't the only officer making those claims.
Thought there was something wrong with that.
Zach Watson worked at the Poland Police Department too.
So when I started asking questions like, why is there such a push for these citations, especially this amount? Where's the money going?
What was their response?
Because I wanted you to. We need that money.
And An Atlanta News First investigation uncovered 44% of Poland's city budget came from fines and forfeitures in 2022. Revenue collected by its police force, nearly 50% the year before, around the same time John and Zach worked there. Poland has a long history of excessive ticketing claims. 15 years ago, the Georgia Department of Public Safety investigated its police department for profiting off drivers. While it cleared the agency of wrongdoing, it uncovered 103% of its budget came from traffic citations, pointing out it has an unusually large budget for a 5-officer police department for a town with a population of 1,700 residents.
I don't know what money they need for Poland, but they sure getting it.
The city of Poland is no outlier. State records show at least 17 cities in Georgia relied on 25% or more of their revenue from fines and forfeitures from 2020 to 2022. According to the Institute for Justice, Georgia ranks as the worst state in the country with laws that may enable or encourage what it calls taxation by citation.
It's shocking. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
We shared our findings with State Representative Joseph Gullett.
That's more than problematic. It takes money to fund a city, but it doesn't need to be driven, strictly by tickets. It needs to be about public safety.
Georgia law allows the state to revoke or suspend speed detection device permits when ticket revenue exceeds 35% of police departments' budgets, but that only involves tickets for speeding-related fines. That means cities can collect as much revenue as they want from other traffic offenses. Representative Gullett, a Republican from Paulding County, says he wants to find a legislative solution to address the loophole.
The best government is typically the one closest to the people, but sometimes they get it wrong, and that's when we have to go step in and try to right the ship.
The city of Poland declined recent interview requests, but its attorney Tommy Coleman spoke to us earlier this year, explaining why he believes lawmakers should leave South Georgia municipalities alone.
Cities and counties in Georgia and other places ought to be able to master of their own destiny. They ought to be able to control their own revenue.
Frustrated drivers who feel gaslit by what they call an unfair police practice.
When you're coming through Poland, there's always got somebody pulled over.
So hopefully they don't get us on the way down there.
In a state that allows cities to collect unlimited cash from drivers through local law enforcement.
State Representative Gullett says he plans to file a bill this coming session to address the issue. That could include a cap on traffic citation revenue cities can collect or other possible solutions. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are also expected to take up the speed detection cameras. For more on our investigation, including a map showing the cities that rely on traffic citation revenue the most, go to this story on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. Thanks for watching Atlanta News First Investigates.
Hey, if you want to see more videos like this, let me know, man. DJ K'd out the party. Appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you guys leave a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts on this in your city or county. Let me know. Comment below. Thank you guys for watching. As always record the police.